As the final buzzer sounded on the Pistons' 2023 season, two die-hard fans, Mickey and Harry, each passed out and witnessed a vision. They were visited by Detroit's very own mascot, Hooper, the stallion ablaze, who told them the only way the Pistons would ever win a championship again was if these two men started a podcast. To be clear, they said, do we really have to do this? I mean, aren't there enough Pistons podcasts already? It seems like this might be overkill. But Hooper dunked on them, right in their face, and said, your team needs you. He presented them with a prophecy. Now it is their duty to help Detroit rise again and become champions. The Order of the Blazing Horse. Welcome to another episode of Order of the Blazing Horse, the only Detroit Pistons podcast based on a mystical prophecy. I am one of those prophets, Harry Morrows, joined as always by my good buddy,
Mickey Jacobs. What's going on, Harry? I am still riding the high from that last victory over the Heat. How about you?
Ooh, it was so nice. The 3 and the D was with us, may it be with you. And in that game, my wife got such good back rubs after that game. Not just because she's an indigenous person, and when they were down 8, she's like, I'm gonna give them a little bit of my choo-choo for you. And then they completely changed the tide of the game, but also because my heart rate was racing so much after that game, I had to tone it down. So shout out to Hannah. Thank you for asking Mother Earth to bless us with a victory. And shout out to Hooper for helping make that happen. How'd you feel about that game, man?
I don't know. Why does it always have to be like an anxiety attack every time we play the Heat? It just seems like every time now. Yeah,
it really does. And Tyler Hero's constantly on the Heat check, no less, with those threes at the end. It's wild, but that's how they've been all season. I mean, we've had a couple overtime games against them. Every time we play the Heat, it's always intense. It's always awesome. On Twitter, I saw some Heat fans were like circling the next Pistons game on their calendar. I'm like, this is great. If this is the rivalry,
I love that.
That's fun. I mean, the Jimmy Butler losing a shoe, the Jimmy Choos, off on the court was pretty fun.
First time hearing that, love that.
When you got the hair, you got to have the Jimmy Choos. So
unreal.
His shoe was so distracting that the camera person didn't even really catch Cade's game-winning basket, which is awesome to see.
That's so indicative of the Pistons and the media's relationship with the Pistons.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I got to give it up to Jimmy. He put up a hell of a stat line: 35,
insane.
10, 19 boards. Out rebounded Duren, who had a pretty good game as far as the boards went. Like, super nice. Shout out Tim Hardaway Jr. for hitting those 3 threes in a row with his dad there. Pretty
unreal.
Pretty crazy. I love the dad stuff. Shout out to Malik Beasley, super on fire in that game. I just love Malik. Also, if you're not watching on Twitch, I'm going to shout out his stream too. It's the Malik and Makai show. They're great. They were giving away jerseys and PS5s and Xbox. Malik's like a pretty fun personality. I think he's going to be pretty successful even outside of basketball because he's fun to listen to. He's engaging. He's pretty good. We'll talk more about him and his future with the team later on in here. But like, I got to bring up some of the end of that Heat game because I was telling you on Yahoo it had the percent chance of who's going to win the game with 2 minutes left in regulation. Pistons had a 91.5% chance of winning the game. We all know how that went to overtime. In overtime, with 1 minute 17 seconds left, the Heat had a 97% chance of winning that game, and we finished out on top. It's really fascinating. Big ups to Cade for a monster triple-double. I called this out during the game. That's his 3rd career high in assists over the last 4 games, 14, 15, then 18. Nuts. The only one he didn't have double-digit assists on was that Boston game that they lost because he was out for a good portion of it because they were already getting blown out. Also, call it in that Boston game. We got a lot of our predictions wrong. Also, wouldn't have predicted they only had 8 turnovers in that game, which is wild. But going back to that Boston game, I got to give you the floor to talk about your boy, Double O.
Ron Holland, man. Oh, my God. So efficient, so good. Just, doing everything out there. And what really struck me in the Boston game is the shot looks good. The shot looks smooth, and some of those finishes were just absolutely crazy. He is so fun to watch.
The switch hand layup was out of
Unreal.
control. Like my jaw
Unreal.
hit the ground. You see how messed up my bottom teeth are? Right here? That's from my jaw hitting the ground with Ron Howland's switch layup. That like I thought the sickest layup this year was that Cade Cunningham against the Pacers spin up and under. That was wild. That Ron one might take the cake. Ivey's had some good ones too, but like what a monster game from Ron. And you'd hit me up on the Ron tip. In the last 8 games, he's shooting 50% from 3, which is kind of a big deal. Shooting pretty good overall, and his free throws are about 80%. Like, we're seeing some serious improvement from Ron in the offensive game. He's being patient. His finishing at the rim is way better. His defense has always been good this season. Like, talk about a kid exceeding my expectations on the year as a whole.
Totally. And like what I love about him the most is that he just wants it. He's unafraid, like in all aspects. Like, we're going to talk about Ausar, and Ausar is great, but sometimes like in a certain situation, you'll see like, not just Ausar, but non-shooters or not the best shooters kind of reluctant to take a three or something. Ron is always ready for it. He always wants it. And he's just like, it's so good to see him put it together, because like you said, when we drafted him, we were like, okay, like he's a project. He seems really raw.
Yeah.
But man, it looks like he's putting it together pretty quick.
Yeah. We're talking, it must be like the parent helping the kid with the science fair project overnight to get it done, because the progress it's zooming through. And like, I'll be totally blunt. Before the draft, I was like, this is the guy I don't want the Pistons to draft, because I don't know what I think about having a guy who can't shoot on the team, who also seems to not have great basketball awareness. But I think his basketball awareness is actually showing up way better than I expected to. The shot looks a lot better than I expected it to, and the defense looks a lot better than I expected to. So, foot in my mouth for that. I take it all back. I know he's a competitor. Once again, to shout out the Malik and Makai show on Twitch. Ron plays Warzone with them, and I know he's competitive because he loses his mind in that game when he gets killed and stuff. It's a funny listen. I'm so for him. Also, he's got the deepest voice. His voice is deeper than Lake Michigan, man. That thing is low. It is low down there. And then, like you said, let's switch it over to Ausar, because Ausar got extended minutes in the Miami game. He started, which was awesome. Like, great to see. It's a bummer that Tobias Harris was out, and that's why Ausar started. But we saw 26 minutes from Ausar, which is 6 more minutes than we've seen from him, I think, all season. And the dude was a menace, man. I think he had at least 5 dunks in that game, which was 6, almost sick, dunking over Drew Smith, like almost ended his career with that 2-handed dunk, essentially from the free throw line in transition. Like either 4 or 5 steals. I've seen him credited both ways. Let's just call it 4. He had a block, 19 points, 9 boards, at least 1 assist. He's looking money, man. Like, so explosive, so athletic. He reads the floor so well, and just like he's an absolute demon to have to get around when you're a ball handler. There's a reason I got his jersey like right away from Summer League. I was like, this is the guy I want to see. And I kind of feel like, at least I'm this way. I've seen plenty of other Pistons fans on social media talking this way. The way they view the future of the Pistons, their core is with 3 guys, numbers 00, 2, and 9.
I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about Ivey and Duren a little later, but it's just so good to see what he can bring to this team, just because in, 25 minutes? Such an impact. So incredible. We're talking about how the Pistons are currently ranked 30th in turnover, or not turnover.
27th.
Almost. 27th turnover. Close, but
30th in
steals.
Yeah.
They don't get a lot of steals. I'm really hoping that changes with Ausar on the floor more. I think he can definitely do that. And people talked about how he couldn't play with Duren. They were worried about having 2 not great shooters. First of all, I think he's shooting something like 30%, which
31% from deep.
Better. And
including
also,
a non-corner one that he hit to start the game. Like, his ball fake just took it. I was like, what?
Yeah. No, he looks so good, and it's good to see that he can play with Duren. Who else started? It was Beasley starting.
Yeah,
and
late scratch Ivey. So Beasley was in. Tim Hardaway Jr., Cade.
So you got Cade, 2 shooters, and then Ausar and Duren. Like, I think the fact that that can work, uh, and those starters did really well for a lot of the Miami game too.
Agreed.
And like, obviously they got the dub, but it was dominant for a while.
I think part of that is like Cade was putting on an absolute showcase. Like some of the passes he had were absolutely sensational. He had a no looker. I think it was either to Ausar or Trajan for a slam that was like just out of this world. Another one to Ausar like in transition where Tyler Hero jumped up to get it and he just left-handed around to him. Cade's feel for the game is nuts right now. If we can get some more slashing out of Ausar and Ron, that will really help out because we can't have like Ausar staying in the corner because then you still get congested a little bit. I saw Sam Vecini, game 3, he had a breakdown of all Cade's assists and he showcased how like near the end of the game that was like kind of a problem. Like Ausar even got off corner 3, which was a good look. It was like in and out, so like I'm not hating on it that much. And if Ausar starts to shoot the 3 ball a little bit better, then like we're in great shape, right? If Ausar and Ron are hitting corner 3s, that's awesome. But it's nice to have a lob threat with Duren there as well. I don't know how much I believe that lineup can play together. It really helps with Malik being there shooting as well as he is from 3, and Tim Hardaway Jr. being a 3-point threat. I still would be hesitant to do that lineup personally, but I'd still see it. I'd still be down to see it. We can see it tonight against the Utah Jazz, which we've got coming up in about 3 hours here tonight. How are you feeling about that matchup in the one-on-one?
Feel really good about it. Seems like the Jazz has a worse record than us right now. I mean, I know the West is really tough.
They have the third worst record in the league. Only the Washington Wizards, who have 3 wins, and the New Orleans Pelicans, who have 5 wins but 2 more losses than the Jazz, have worse records.
Yeah. There are some players on the Jazz that have been playing well. I was looking. It seems like Lowry's only been getting like 25-ish minutes. I don't know if they're like soft tanking or trying to prioritize the young. Maybe not that soft, but trying to prioritize the young guys. But I know John Collins is having a very efficient season.
He's doing pretty good. I think he's averaging like 18-8 or 18-9 or something. He's looking great. And I know he's been a trade target for the Pistons fans for a long time. He's not like my type of guy, but like I get it. He's a solid 4. But when you're looking at Utah overall, Lowry is averaging the most points for him at 18.6. John Collins at 18. And then after that, it's Colin Sexton with 16.3. Jordan Clarkson with 15.9. They're like, where are the young guys on that list? I don't see them. Then you got their assist leaders, Keontae George averaging 5.8. And then after that, it's 3. They don't pass the ball well. Like Clarkson is 3.7, Isaiah Collier 3.2, Colin Sexton 3.1. Rebounds, Walker Kessler's up there with 10.5, and he's got the block shots as well. But like they're young guys, it's just like it's not showing up. They drafted Cody Williams this year, who I know a lot of Pistons fans wanted, and he's in the G League. Like you're on the G League on this team. That's like
on a tanking team,
right?
Yeah, tanking-ish team.
That's a concern. I know Tyler Hendricks is out. The Jazz got to be happy that Isaiah Stewart's out, especially Drew Eubanks, who's on that team now. He's got to be super happy that Stewart's not there.
No tunnel scuffles.
No tunnel scuffles for them. But I think we were talking about this a little off stream. The matchups that we're most interested to see are Pistons are 27th in turnovers. The Jazz are 30th in turnovers. Pistons are 30th in steals. Jazz are 29th in steals. Who's going to hold on to this ball? Like, what's going to happen with this thing? I kind of expect and I hope it's a beatdown for the Pistons on the Jazz, but we'll see about it. Tobias Harris is probable, and we'll see. We'll see if he goes through and starts. My estimation is if he is playing, he'll get the start, and we'll get back to the starting lineup of likely Cade, Beasley, THJ, Harris, Duren. Although I wouldn't maybe mind seeing THJ and Ausar swap out in that regard, just so we can get some more defense on there and more out of Ausar. But I don't know. What are you looking forward to in this game?
Yeah, I agree with you about Ausar starting. I'm also curious what you think about whether Beasley should start over THJ, or if you want Beasley scoring off the bench. Maybe we need that, but I don't know. I think either works. I feel like Beasley's been more consistent, but they're both the kind of shooters that like can just go nuclear or can't buy a bucket. But yeah, I'm hoping this is like a low stress game. Um, but you can never underestimate the ability of like guys like Jordan Clarkson to just take and make ridiculous shots. Lowry's big and he can shoot the three ball. We're not super great at guarding that.
Right.
So,
but they're worse. They are worse at defending the three than we are. That seems to be like they're really bad defensively. Pistons have been really moving toward this uptick in shooting the three ball. And I mean, why not? When you got guys like Malik and THA, when he can heat up to do it, and like Sasser has been money from three. Sasser's shooting 39% from three. Hopefully he gets some run today because I love me some Sasser. And
me too.
Harris has been shooting the three ball better. We're not seeing Ivey today, so that's like a bit of a bummer. Or I mean, like he's doubtful, but I wouldn't expect to see him. But I kind of expect Cade to like pull up from three a whole bunch too. Like his 3-point percentage off pull-ups, I think is like 36.7 this year. He's shooting 38 point something from three overall. Like get those numbers up, dude. Like do your thing. I don't think they have anyone who can stop Cade. So I think Cade's going to likely have another triple-double feast. Utah's won one game in their last 9, 2 in their last 14. Their one win in the last 9 was against Portland, which they won by 42 points. And then 2 nights later, they lost to the Sacramento Kings by 44 points. So, like, it's a sway for them. I think they tend to do better against teams that have bad defenses. And I don't think the Pistons have bad defense. I think it's, like, fine overall. Like, just middle of the pack, middle of the road. So, if I were to guess, my guess is that the Pistons hold them to like the low hundreds in this game, like 102 or something like that, and the Pistons will score like close to 120. That's my big hope for the game. Hopefully, they can really put on a show. This is a statement game. It's the first day of All-Star voting, so let's put on a Cade showcase game here right now. We're coming off of some great Cade performances. You can vote. By the way, vote for Cade. You can vote for him nonstop. Like us, subscribe, share, comment, all that stuff.
Ring that bell.
But also ring that bell. Get those notifications. But also vote for Cade every day. I'm for real going to be voting for him every day because he truly deserves it. I cannot wait to see if he makes it / when he makes it. I think he will. Every broadcast that we've watched, somewhat illegally, all the away broadcasts are always saying, this guy's an all-star. This is an all-star guy.
Yeah.
So, like, if the league's seeing it, we're seeing it. Get the word out. Let's make it happen this year.
Vote or die for Cade. Yeah, you're starting to hear. I love when other broadcasters shout out the Celtics broadcasters. They were very complimentary of Cade.
Scalabrine slobbering all over Cade the entire game.
Hey, listen, they can see with their eyes. They don't need prescription buffs. Okay, they know what they're talking about. But it's great to see, like, even though that was a blowout, like a bad game for Cade now is like 18-8-8. like that's really, I know it's not efficient. I know like it wasn't like didn't get the result we wanted, but like it's really not a bad game.
It's still nuts. He's the only player 23 and under who has multiple triple doubles this year. He's got 6. He's third in the league in triple doubles. He's third in the league in assists per game. He's averaging a career high in points, rebounds, assists, 3-point shooting percentage, field goal percentage, blocks. I'm sure like it's a career year for him. The Pistons almost have, if they win tonight, they'll be within 2 wins of their season total last year, which is crazy,
incredible.
And we're not even into the new year. So if there's ever been an opportunity for a statement outside of the Madison Square Garden one, outside of that game against Miami that he just had, tonight's just another opportunity. I also want to give a shout out to Max Frischberg on YouTube. He's my buddy from LA. He does like compilations of player highlights. He made one for Cade, the best player you've not been talking about. You go back and you rewatch and you're like, my God, this guy's unreal, just like an absolute arsenal. I think next week we might have been able to get our hands from Hooper. Hooper's able to give us Cade Cunningham's resume. that he
His
submitted
all-star resume.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so look forward to
We'll take a
that.
look at
In the next one. Let's do some predictions for this game. What do you got for me, Mickey?
that. I think we're gonna get the dub. I'm gonna say at least a double-double for Cade. I don't know about the triple-dub. I do think Walker Kessler is gonna have 3 or more blocks. We get blocked. I'm gonna say it. I like the progress we've made, but we're the kind of team that gets blocked. And I want to see. I think Ausar is gonna have another big impact. I hope hovering around 15 points and 3+ stocks. It was so cool to see him and Cade form chemistry under JB's coaching. Because when you think about what happened last season, that really stunted Cade's ability to form chemistry with Ausar. A lot of times he was just planted in the corner, and it really seems like JB's going to utilize him properly. And he has such a knack for getting open under the basket, just cutting. Which I feel like we were talking Ron's starting to cut, but not a ton of our players cut. Tobias cuts.
He does cut. He posts up. He cuts. It's nice to see that we have some wings who do that. So, and I like those predictions. I like all those predictions a lot.
What do you got?
I think Beasley's going to hit 6+ threes in this game. He's been on such a tear. Just absolute shooting menace. And Cade's feeding him the ball. So great. I am going to call another triple-double. I think tonight's a triple-double night. And I think Ron Holland's going to have 15+ points. Houston's got their Terror Twins. We have our own. We got to think of a nickname for Ausar and Ron. I think they actually have a little more offensive juice than the Ausar Thompson connection. So let's get that going. I know it's early because Ausar's just coming back from his blood clot situation, and Ron is a rookie, But yeah. I can't wait to see what these two can bring to the table. So those are my predictions. Oh, and then I'm going to give one Ausar one too. I think Ausar is going to swat the ball into 2 rows back at least on one shot. So
I'll be looking out for that.
Yeah, keep your eye out. If you're in the second row, keep your hands up. Be ready like Ron Holland behind the 3-point line, just waiting for that ball to get it caught. Because then maybe you can put it back up. Yeah. Get off your phone. You paid good money for those tickets. I was looking to scope some tickets to go today, get in the lower bowl, but I couldn't get anyone to go with me. So no Jazz tickets for me. I just want to see the Pistons win a game. I haven't seen the Pistons win a game live in 3 years. I just want to see them win a game.
Oh my God.
So not that I'm going on nonstop all the time, but it'll happen. We'll get there.
It'd be nice. It would be nice. Yeah. I really hope Cade has a triple-double. Because, we're talking about how he's an all-star player. Other teams' broadcasters talk about it. I was talking to a Lakers friend. I felt like Cade's more deserving than Melo in terms of wins and just impact in general and games played.
Defense.
But Melo's defense. But Melo's loud. And Melo has a fan base. And, all of these factor into all-star voting. So I really think, Cade's going to need to just make it, impossible to ignore. So if he starts to just, rack up these crazy triple doubles, that is absolutely something that could move the needle.
Part of it with Melo, we've heard the phrase, is it the shoes? With the kids, it is the shoes. That's the Melo case. And I don't like those shoes. I don't like them one bit. But I know kids do. I get it. And they're on the phone, they're voting, and all that jazz. And I guess I kind of get it with LaMelo. I bet he's probably going to make this All-Star game because his PPG is wild this year. But when you're looking at all-around impactful players, the Pistons have 4 more wins than the Hornets have this year. For almost all other stats, Cade is ahead in them. And I don't know. I just feel like he's got the intangibles. When we're talking about all-star competition, it's mainly against Dame, Maxey, LaMelo, Brunson, JB, I guess, Jalen Brown. Who else in the East is in this conversation? Let me take a quick look.
Trey, I guess.
Oh yeah, of course. Trey Young. I think he's pretty deserving as well. Trey's pretty good. I got to give him some love.
And the Hawks are playing well. So
both Cleveland guards, Garland and Mitchell, and I guess Halliburton, although he's had a rough year. But I think when you go through those names, I think Cade kind of is surpassing them mainly statistically. Definitely feel good story wise this year. Pretty decent in the win department, and he's been doing stuff on the showcase. So like in showcase moments. So hopefully that gets it done. Hopefully enough of the fans vote for him, and hopefully the coaches in their votes real. I think that is another big factor. Is like the heavy will be the hand that the coaches have in deciding that Cade makes an All-Star game.
I hope so. I mean, you saying that we can match our win total before the new year, like that's pretty amazing. And that's all him. But no, it like you said, it's the shoes for Melo, but it's also like an entire generation grew up watching him, like before he was even like playing professional. That like it's crazy.
Yeah,
Like they are obsessed.
it's a media game,
Um,
baby.
and I'm not even a Mellow hater, but it's like it's hard to compete with that from a like an audience fan base standpoint.
I agree. It's like being loud gets. I saw uh, on TikTok, RIP potentially, I suppose TikTok, somebody talking about how people who tend to be viewed as leaders are the people who talk the most and who are like the loudest and most apparent, but those are not the best leaders. In fact, they're often some of the worst leaders. It's just that they're talking, so you associate them with they know what they're talking about, but it's really just filling up empty space and they're not hearing what other people have to say. Not saying that LaMelo is that way, but I'm saying that like just like you said, the whole media loud image of him, people are like, this is the guy. I think if you look a little deeper into it, he's not quite the same guy that Cade Cunningham is, and I think the record says it. So uh, let's move on from there, and
But
we've hinted at it a little bit. We talked a little bit about where we see the team. Do you want to start with the vision of the team for the future regarding and like the current team regarding the young guys or the vets and the vet expectations? We can do the Extendometer or we can do vet expectations.
let's do vet expectations.
Okay. Uh, just like a general thing with the vets, I think some people are. We did this on. Don't you say that about my boy with Tobias about people talking shit and like expecting to be like the second point scorer, leading point scorer on our team. I think maybe with a lot of these guys, we had wrong expectations. We have to have more realistic expectations of where they're at with their career, what they contribute, and what they're capable of doing. We can't expect Tobias to be like a 20-point per game scorer or to be like in his prime. He's an older player at this point. He doesn't have the same bag that a lot of these guys have. He's not like the same level of athleticism. You watch him night in and night out. He's not trash. He just isn't the player that you want him to be. Same with Tim Hardaway Jr. It's not like he's an awful shooter or anything. Clearly he's not. Otherwise he wouldn't have the reputation of being the career shooter that he is. These players offer things that are making teams react to them differently than they would be with some other guys. So even if they're not hitting their shots, even if they're not like so great defensively, they're still vocalizing on defense. Tim Hardaway Jr. is taking charges. He's hitting those clutch threes in overtime. He's spacing the floor. Malik Beasley is clearly putting up points like wild. And yeah, sometimes a lot of times guys get by him and like burn him, but like they're not every player in the league, especially 99% of players in the league, have flaws, and you just have to accept that they have flaws, and that's what team building is all about. Is like putting the pieces together that have these flaws. So I'm not mad at Tobias Harris for not scoring all that well and not shooting all that well, and when he goes in the low post. I'm not mad at Tim Hardaway Jr. for missing these free. I'm not mad at Beasley for guys getting blown by him because I think we need to expect those things to happen, and the team should also expect those things to happen, and you have to work around that in the setting. What are your thoughts on our vets at this point?
I agree. I mean, I like would I like Tobias Harris to be more productive or smarter, like decision making wise and or better at defending? Like absolutely. But like when you consider what we're paying these guys for how long we're paying these guys, I think this is great. I think that like what you're seeing here as opposed to last year is vets who are engaged, have roles and like are absolutely passable at those roles. And in some cases, they're absolutely exceeding expectations. What's happening with Beasley is so cool. And, whether we extend him or whether another team like wants to trade a pick for him or something else, he has value. And his value has definitely increased since being on the Pistons from the Bucks.
Absolutely. Like totally different situations with here and with on the Bucks, right? Like on the Bucks, he was a starter too, and then he was just like kind of chilling in the corner, and like his percentage is fine, but he wasn't as productive doing what he's doing here at all. I think he's had one career year like at these numbers, but not quite. And it's like he's in the perfect situation to flourish, and he's flourished off the bench, and he's flourished starting, and I think that's very valuable to this team specifically. We talk about it all the time with draft. You get drafted into a situation that helps you develop one way or the other. Same with free agents, and I really hope Malik and his team recognizes that, because I'm with you. I think I would love to bring him back on a 4-year deal, 3 or 4-year deal, anywhere in the range from like 12 to 16 mil a year. I don't care if he gets more money than that. Good for him. I'd be willing to be in talks about that. But I mean, you look at the deal fund.
He's 26.
He's 28.
28. Okay.
Maybe he's 26. I don't know, but he's a young guy. Like he's in his prime. You get him locked up for a while. You might as well, because proof is in the pudding. He's shooting well, and shooting touch sticks around, and he shoots well for this team with Cade Cunningham. And like I said, on and off the bench. So like I'd be doing a lot of talking to him about like, hey, we really want to bring you back, but he signed a 1-year deal with us, so it's not like you can extend him, right? So then the talk is, do you re-sign this guy? Or do you keep this guy and just keep the team vibes up there and be like, yo, man, let's really stick together. We're going to give you a deal. He's going to test free agency. Why wouldn't you? It'd be bad business to not like test the money in that situation. Or would you be like, yo, man, we really want to bring you back, but we also want to do like right by both this team and by you. How would you feel if we dealt you to a contender, got a pick, and then we sparked back up re-signing with this team afterward? It's happened a couple times, not like a ton or anything, and not with like super great players or anything like that. We talked about it off broadcast. It happened with Ricky Rubio and the Cavs. He went to the Pacers, didn't play for him, came back, signed with the Cavs. But I mean, Beasley's a different sort of cat. Beasley's going to be a like well sought after dude in that situation. I just don't know if you're more or less likely to be able to re-sign him, no matter whether you have him or not. So maybe it does make sense to trade him and to get a pick, but only if he's down with that. Because the only reason I wouldn't trade him is if he really wanted to stay here for the rest of the year as like his main goal. If he was like, I'm committed to this team, I don't want to leave, I'd be like, great, then let's just start talking contract as soon as you can, and we'll get moving.
Yeah, I do think that would be a best case scenario, though, the one you outlined. I think getting some value for him and then bringing him home after a potential run with a contender. But either way, he's just been really solid for us, and it's good to see him, like, with the minutes he's getting, like, really catch fire. And he's not the best defender, but he's definitely not the worst.
Yeah. I don't feel like we have any of the worst defender. I feel like last year there was a lot of the worst defenders, and this year, not so much. A lot of the trade stuff I see going on, I don't know how I feel about like any of the names and the assets you like give up for them. Like really this year, I've heard like the big ones I hear are like Brandon Ingram or Vooch or Michael Porter Jr. And I just think like a lot of that would cost a ton, and I think it'd make your team like a little better for sure, but also at what cost, and what can you pull off next year? And it goes against what Trajan was saying at the beginning of this year, which is he wants to collect assets. So I am curious, because I think the top of this draft is pretty solid, pretty much the 1 through 10 range. So if you start losing, sure, sell off and tank even further, and then if you start winning and you're going to lose your pick anyway, great. But I don't think you need to make a trade to see how far you can go, unless you've already made your decision on a couple of players who we're going to move into next when we're talking about the Re-Sign-O-Meter. If you're not feeling like you're going to re-sign and extend Ivey and Duren, then I think you got to talk about like maxing your value for them and then making a move for a bigger player. You can be like, okay, we'll trade one or both of them plus a pick for somebody who's really going to move the needle for us, whoever that might be. And talks are pretty tense with the fan base, with Ivey and Duren both. Who do you want to start with?
Let's talk about JD. I feel like that's the name in everybody's mouths, right?
Yep. I think he's averaging a career high in blocks, 1.3 blocks per game this year. Career lows in free throw percentage, and in rebounds he's much lower right now too. Turnovers pretty high. it seems like he's not consistently productive. It just seems like even though strides are being made and he is improving, it's not improvement at the rate that Pistons fans want, and it might not be at the rate that works for this team and for Cade Cunningham's future. I'm sure Cade likes him a lot, and I'm sure everybody loves each other and doesn't want anyone to give up on. Right now, I personally am on the let's see what we can do in place of JD myself. How do you feel?
At risk of like being too samey here, I totally agree. Everybody wants a stretch big. Everybody wants a center who can shoot and protect, like a Miles Turner or a Brook Lopez, but a rim runner who protects the rim is fine. And I'd be willing to bet too that like he's averaging career high in blocks. I'll bet you he's averaging less minutes than last year too. I could be wrong about that, but I feel like he played more minutes last year. So that's a good sign in terms of his improving rim protection, if true. But yeah, there's just some things that like, I'm not an expert, but I just feel like he's gassed a lot. I think he's out of position a lot. I think that like some of those scrambly closeouts are due to his missed coverage. And yeah, I just think there's guys who can do what he does great. That said, he's 21. Who's to say how much he could improve? But to me, it's not even coming down to not liking him as a player. It's just about how much he's gonna want in an extension, or is it an extension or
it's an extension.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my concern, and I feel like, I don't think the Pistons should like go all in on a big star, but like, of Vucevic, like that's a name that comes up a lot. Like just even seeing for the next 2 years what Cade looks like with a stretch big, especially if he can shoot the way he's shooting now. Like, I don't know. I feel like Duren for Vooch straight up, like maybe Chicago's into that. Like maybe they're notoriously slow to shake things up and or
bad at negotiating.
Get rid of their players, but it could be really interesting. I saw someone on Reddit say that Vooch might be, if we were to acquire Vooch, he might be the best player that Cade's played with. What do you think about that?
I don't know. Like he's having a career year shooting wise, but like the years prior, it's been bad. Like that's kind of what worries me about some of the people that the Pistons are targeting. It's like the value for them is at their all-time highest, and we weren't interested.
Like Levine.
Right, and like, I think Levine's like always been kind of like decent, but like he was just injured and expensive, and now he's not as expensive. Same with Vooch. Like what
as long.
Right. What appeals to me most about the Vucevic situation is his contract is 2 years, and it's like $20 million, and he's a stretch 3. That's great. I'm all for that because
crazy athletic.
Right, and if you can assert Ausar into the starting lineup, then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Like that, defensive deficiency has helped a lot. So that could be really cool. And I've talked about players I'd love to see the Pistons draft or at least like look at. There are two. I think this is the other reason I'm like not as interested in extending Duren is young bigs right now are all leaning toward shooting the 3, which has never been part of Duren's game. But everyone talks about wanting stretch bigs. The guys who are some of the bigger bodies, shot blockers, defensive guys that are big men in the draft this year, like Colin Malawak and Magoon Guath out of San Diego State.
Mr.
Magoon. Those guys shoot the 3 and they play defense. So and they're both over 7 feet tall. So like, it just you can replace the stuff that Duren provides kind of on the cheap and add an extra element. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. It'll be a bummer to miss the rebounds, but if you lose him, you know who's number 2 on the team in rebounds?
Cade.
It's Cade Cunningham. It's 7.5. Yeah. Like, and that ain't bad. That's really not bad, right? So like, Cade can rebound. Ivey rebounds a little bit. Tobias rebounds, Ausar for sure rebounds, and if you have Vucevic, he is averaging like 9 rebounds a game too. So it's not like you're losing that much in the rebounding department. So this is nothing ill will against JD. I actually think he's showing a lot of growth, and I think as like a play finisher, he's pretty friggin' solid. And I love that him and Cade have chemistry. He seems like a great guy. Just from a business sense, he's not a guy I would be looking to extend personally. But if they do extend him, I'd be eager to see what the plan surrounding the rest of the team is. That being said, with Jaden Ivey, would you extend him?
Not on like a Jalen Green deal. And I feel like that's what he would want, because I think he's probably having like a better season than Jalen Green statistically. Maybe like not quite as many points, or I feel like it's close and probably more assists. But here's the thing with Jaden Ivey. Sometimes he looks really great next to Cade, but thus far he really hasn't been a consistent presence. Sometimes he looks amazing, and sometimes he can't buy one, and is also a liability defensively. And I don't think he's like a backup point guard. Like I think we're seeing with his assist to turnover ratio, it's not great, and I don't think he's like running the second unit. And I mean, that's not to say he couldn't get better. He gets better every season. He's probably shooting all-time high right now, but you see what Cade looks like with a Malik Beasley in the backcourt, just an absolute sniper. Just like, unfortunately, it really seems like getting someone like that makes more sense and just lightens Cade's load a little bit. What do you think?
I'm kind of with you. When you said that you think he's got maybe a little bit better stats than Jalen Green, I was like, I don't know about that. And then I looked up, Jalen Green's averaging more points. It's 19 to 17.3. Rebounds 4.6 to 4.1 in Green's favor. That's pretty even. Assists 4.2 to 2.6. Efficiency in Ivey's favor. Field goal percentage 39% for Jalen Green, 43% for Ivey. 3-point percent, 36.7 for Ivey, 31.3% for Green. Ivey's actually maybe having a better season.
He's going to want 30 mil.
On the real. If he wants 30 mil a year for like 3 years, I know people have been talking about like, oh, he's probably not like not going to be our second leading scorer, but he could be our third leading scorer. I don't know if it's worth it. Like I truly don't know. Like I would rather. And again, like I love his work ethic. I love him as a player. I love that he's taking game-winning shots. It's been great improvement for him this year. And like you said, he's gotten better every year. He wasn't a jerk when he got sent to the bench last year, which is, I mean, super good on him. Like a high character guy for sure. Cade Cunningham called him his brother. He says, "This is my brother. It's my guy." Like if Cade really wants him to stay, then I guess you can make that work. But I'd almost would rather maybe test the trade market to see is like, hey, does anybody believe in this guy enough to want to extend him and make him their guy and give us some assets in exchange while we figure out maybe a shooter that can work next to Cade a little better? Because if Ivey was slashing a lot more, I don't know why he's not slashing more often than he is, because he's so fast. He's got such a great first step. Like he's such an incredible athlete. I'd love to see it. I feel the same way about Ivey as I do about Duren right now. Is like, I guess depending on the money, but I'd almost rather see what is available in the market out there, and then just try to build this team around essentially Cade, Ausar, and Ron, and hopefully really bring in a stretch big man for center to start, who can also defend the rim. Ideally, one or the other,
or at least one of those things.
Right, one or the other.
One of those things, yeah.
And like, so the three things you want are rim run, protect the rim, stretch. If you can pull off two of those three things, that would be great. With rebounding in there, of course, just as like an understanding. So if they can get a player like that, And then the other players I really like, I don't want to trade Isaiah Stewart. He's leading the league in field goal percentage against at the rim at like 43%. He's ahead of Victor Wembanyama by 2%. And then the next closest person's like 10% back. It's crazy how good Isaiah Stewart's been this year. Like, super slept on, great contract for that guy. Plus, he has the ability to space. You can't get rid of Stu. Like, I just don't feel like there's enough quality return for him for the value that you have for him in Detroit. And it seems like he really has that right spot as the backup big man. And then I really want the team to keep Sasser. People keep tossing him in there as like, well, maybe a team wants Sasser. I want to keep him. He's been coming off the bench in like sporadic minutes, and he's been money in those minutes. His numbers aren't the same as Malik's. He's shooting 39 from three compared to Malik's 41, but he's also doing it in 12 minutes compared to 20 plus minutes. And like, he plays well with Cade on top of it. And the dude gets steals. Like, he's a force to be reckoned with on defense a little bit. Every game I feel like he's come in and done some stuff. And that's what I love about Ron. That's what I love about Ausar. That's what I love about Cade. These guys have all made real finesse defensive plays this year multiple times. It shows up on tape. I love that dog, dude. I love that bite your ankles, get in there. I want to keep seeing that, and that's the type of people I want to prioritize in this team. And so that's kind of where I'm leaning as far as like assets go. So those are the guys that I have my priorities on. Like, I'd prefer not to trade, and then everybody else, I'm like, let's at least talk about it. Not looking to move you, but we really have to have a conversation about it.
I totally agree. And you know what I think would change things for me? So, and like, look, I'll cop to the fact that like, I think the Re-Sign-O-Meter, Extendometer is fun because first 5 games I was like, Ivey's the guy. Like, you know, like I'm inconsistent as hell when it comes to this stuff. So I don't know if like 10 is absolutely extend and 0 is trade them and or just don't extend them. I'm probably at like maybe like a 3 for Ivey and 2 for Duren. And I think I might feel differently if it wasn't for the turnovers. The turnovers are like, Cade's going to turn over the ball. He's got crazy high usage. You can't have those 2 starters also turning the ball over a whole bunch. And I don't blame Trajan or I guess it wasn't Trajan. I don't even blame Troy Weaver for those picks. I think at the time you want to draft for, talent as opposed to fit. And we did. But at a certain point with Cade's rise, I do think we have to start prioritizing fit now that it's a matter of like committing to long-term money.
It's not even a question of like just fit anymore. Now it's like fit plus guaranteed second heavy volume point scorer. And the other reason that I'm not super for keeping these guys around is like so much of the fan base is clamoring for a backup point guard. Like, we need somebody else to run the second unit. We really need a backup point guard. No, we don't. We just need more people who can handle the ball well and play make. Right. And those 2 guys, when given the opportunity, haven't been doing a great job of it. Like, Ausar in limited capacity has been doing a great job of it. That dude plays point guard to the 5. It's nuts what he's capable of.
Incredible.
And
so versatile.
Like, that's the type of stuff you got to prioritize. Then you look at this draft. Let's say the team does trade away those guys and they start tanking a little bit. In the top of the draft, there are like 6 guards, 6 playmakers that are not only big, but could like really make a difference on this team. We're going to get into it on our next episode. I believe we're going to have Tyler Metcalf from the No Ceilings NBA team, who you should be checking out. Like, if you're not following No Ceilings NBA and their draft coverage, it's unreal. They really know their stuff. And they put out so much material. It's so fun. It's so relevant. They dig deeper than I guarantee you are as a fan watching it. But there are guys like, and granted, these would be like top 5 pick type of people. They're like Dylan Harper or like Yegor Demine or I think his name is Jokichunas, the guy from Illinois. There are players that even Ben Serif, if you go like the top 10 or so, those guys can take on ball reps and handle it. So Cade's not getting triple teamed at the end of the game in regulation causing these major collapses when you could have a second ball handler really helping him out. So I'm not super high on keeping him around. And if they're playing okay and someone wants to take that chance, give them that chance. I'm all for it. So that's where I stand on the Pistons player. Still like those guys. If they do stick around, I'll be happy to watch them develop. I'm not against it. And if they do stick around, I will bet on Trajan having a plan to make it work, because we got to remember this is his first year watching the Pistons too. He's got fresher eyes than we do on these. He has a different idea than we do for how it's all going to work out. We only have our history with these guys, and I guarantee it's vastly different than how he feels about the team.
Definitely, it'll be really interesting. I think this trade deadline is going to be very telling in terms of Trajan. You know, like I feel like this is going to be the first time he's actually had time to like look at these players and evaluate, and not just like scramble to make moves like between his hire and the season starting. That was a lot.
Plus, he's the guy. It's not like when he was in New Orleans where he was the second guy, even though he was the GM. We're really going to see how he views this team and what to expect. And I think if you even look at the draft, if you even look at Ron, and if you look at some of his history with New Orleans, he's a wing valuer. The guy understands like the value of wings. I think that might be what he prioritizes going forward. So we'll see. I wish for the best for Ivey and Duren. I'm going to keep rooting for them as long as they're on this team.
Absolutely.
And like I expect them both to have like good careers, truly be good careers. We're not GMs. We're just fans watching this, and there's so many ways you can take it. That's just the way that makes the most sense to me right now personally. There's so many other factors that go into it, and I'm not going to cry to mama if things don't go the way I predicted them to go. My mama don't like it.
I might
cry
cry
like
to
that.
mama.
Oh, you'll cry to mama?
But that's just me.
I met your mama. She's nice. She seems like a mama you could cry around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sweet mama. Well, we're wrapping up here. We got about 2 hours to game time. I got to get this out and up so y'all can listen to it before the game. And Mickey, do you have any final things you want to say about the boys?
Nope. I love the boys. I wish them the best. This should be an easy dub. Let's make this easy on my nerves. And we said it before. I'll say it again. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, ring the bell for notifications, smash all the buttons, smash them up.
Hell yeah. Smash it, like it, all that good stuff. Oh, I was wrong on the podcast, by the way. It's in 2 weeks that we're having Tyler on. Next week is probably just going to be me and Mickey again, a special Christmas-style episode, a Boxing Day episode, if you will, if you're available, Mickey, of course. We'll talk about that later. But,
We'll talk about it.
Like us, follow us. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Pods. We're on YouTube, obviously. It's where we're at right now. We have some great visual content. If you didn't watch last week when we had LeBron James Lipton on for Inside the Flopper Studio, that was a lot of fun. Hopefully the refs will have gotten our care packages by now, and they'll give Cade some calls.
I think that Coney is probably still good. The box shelf life on those is actually incredible. It's like Twinkies. You know how they're like good through like
radiation poisoning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that seems like the food to do it. So as always, as we leave the Order of the Blazing Horse, we leave the same way every time, baby. The same way every time. As the final buzzer sounded on the Pistons 2023 season, two die-hard fans, Mickey and Harry, each passed out and witnessed a vision. They were visited by Detroit's very own mascot, Hooper, the stallion ablaze, who told them the only way the Pistons would ever win a championship again was if these two men started a podcast. To be clear, they said, do we really have to do this? I mean, aren't there enough Pistons podcasts already? It seems like this might be overkill. But Hooper dunked on them, right in their face, and said, your team needs you. He presented them with a prophecy. Now it is their duty to help Detroit rise again and become champions. The Order of the Blazing Horse.